Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk a little bit more about BPD and how it causes a split sense of self. Just to clarify things, this is, for the moment, a self-diagnosis, but I have done extensive research on this and fit 8 of the 9 criteria symptoms, and I'm working on finding a professional who can make it official, I guess. I don't know. I'm also not someone who just messes around or makes up symptoms. It took about a year of research for me to decide that I had social anxiety, even though it should have been super obvious. I guess I didn't think I was bad enough, but clearly since I am where I am today now, which is medicated, it was bad enough. So, professionals don't like to give out the diagnosis of BPD, and that has been my struggle. My last therapist straight up refused to listen to my concerns, I guess, to what I had to say about it. She went over the diagnostic criteria with me and told me I didn't fit any of it and didn't really leave me room to argue otherwise. She based me not having BPD off the fact that I don't have a pattern of consistently leaving people. And I'm on the internet a lot. I talk to other people with BPD, and they've all agreed that that is not a good reason to tell someone they don't have BPD. The person I learned about BPD from says that her BPD is the reason she doesn't leave people behind. And that makes sense given that one of the symptoms of BPD is a fear of abandonment and frantic efforts to avoid it. And there's also no one single way to have BPD. I've read about classic borderlines and quiet borderlines. I've read about 4 different subtypes. And I have them here on my phone. The discouraged borderline, impulsive borderline, petulant borderline, and self-destructive borderline, each showing different qualities of the same symptoms, but displaying these symptoms in different ways. So what I wanted to talk about is having a split sense of self, and basically that means I don't really know who I am. I don't know what I like, what I believe. I've gone through many religious struggles trying to figure out what I believe, and I've had moments of, oh yes, I totally believe this, or oh no, I'm so confused. And it caused me a lot of distress as a younger child, not knowing. And it goes deeper than that. I don't really know who I am as a person, what I value. I don't know, like the saying, the end justifies the means. I don't know how far I'm really willing to go, which I'm sure depends on the situation because I have a bleeding heart and I'm always going to try to minimize the pain of people around me. So I can say I value truth, but will lie to spare someone's feelings, so I can say I value people's feelings over the truth. And it's kind of confusing, but this mostly reflects in the way I see myself. Some days I see myself as this warrior princess, kind of like Wonder Woman rising from the trenches, blocking bullets, beating people up. I see myself slaying my demons with a sword, and those are my good days, you know. And sometimes those are my bad days too. Sometimes I need that to hold on to that warrior princess side of me on my bad days to get through them. That side of me is a fighter, is very assertive in what she wants, and a huge advocate for herself. And unfortunately, that is not the side of me that shows up in therapy. In therapy, I turn into the quiet kid, which is basically what everybody is labeled me as. Due to my social anxiety, I developed this quiet kid persona, and that's the persona I give off to the world, and it's not really under my control that I'm perceived that way, but I am very quiet. And my last therapist, did not believe that I was capable of anger, that I had so much rage inside of me sometimes, which I can, and I do, and I don't know why my therapist didn't believe me. That's something you should trust a person on, that you can get angry. And so the quiet kid doesn't want to cause any problems for anyone. The quiet kid is not a good advocate for themselves. The quiet kid just wants to be left alone. And then there's the other part of me that's this scared child that just wants help and wants to be comforted. And that's, on my worst days, that's usually the side of me that comes out. The feelings of hopelessness, the feelings that I can't do it. And I've come to learn that, you know, I don't have to fit into a box. I can be the warrior princess, the quiet kid, and the scared child, all at the same time. I can be whatever the situation requires me to be. It's just about learning what situation needs what personality. So in my therapy sessions, I need to turn into the warrior princess version of myself and advocate for myself. But I also need to show them the scared child version of myself so they can see just exactly what I need, instead of just the quiet kid that doesn't want to bother anyone, that doesn't think their problems are significant enough. And the quiet kid, of course, has its place, and that is school. It helps my anxiety greatly being the quiet kid. People don't call on me. People don't bother me. And so that is the quiet kid's place. But the quiet kid's place should not be in my therapy sessions, and I'm struggling. I'm struggling to make my other two sides come out. I think my new therapist is a good fit, though. The only problem is she wants me to do most of the talking, and the very nature of my social anxiety does not want me to do most of the talking because it's talking. But luckily she seems to be willing to adapt her methods to help my anxiety and to kind of lead conversations. Although, when I see her on Tuesday, I'm really going to have a serious discussion with her about BPD and lead that discussion because I have a voice. I deserve to be heard. And there are so many people out there with BPD that are undiagnosed because, like I said, nobody wants to give that diagnosis. Professionals don't want to treat people with BPD because they're generally seen as just unrecoverable or resistant to treatment, and that's not true. There's DBT, which I've been dying to try and I'm finally going to ask for, and there's psychotherapy, which helps a lot, and even CBT helps. challenging, anxious thoughts. And mindfulness, self-soothing, emotional regulation. There's a lot of help out there for people with BPD. And it's sad that people just don't seem willing to give it because of the stigma attached to it. I guess we're just seen as difficult to treat. My split sense of self, it's like trying to fit together pieces of a puzzle, and no matter what I do, there's always one missing, and like, who wants to deal with that? And that's part of why I'm so determined now to become a therapist myself. I want to specialize in BPD and help people receive treatment. Specialize in DBT because I really believe that it's going to be very beneficial to me, and that it can be beneficial to a lot of people for a lot of disorders like anxiety and PTSD. So this is my promise to you guys. I'm making a promise. I will stop being the quiet kid when I go to my therapy sessions. I will be the warrior princess and the scared child. I will advocate for myself. I'll get the help I need, and you know, if I get blown off, I'll just search for a BPD specialist. Another thing about having a split sense of self is it can be kind of distressing not knowing who you are. But I've learned just, I am who I am. I am all three of these personas. They all connect in a way. They all have their purpose. And they're all good for me somehow. I just need to learn how to control them and how to use them to my advantage and not let them control me.